Despite several powerful updates over the years, iPadOS is still, in my eyes, very much a mobile-oriented operating system. So it comes as no surprise to me that the most mobile of iPads, the Mini 6, sees a lot more day-to-day use, while my 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro can often feel like a glorified typewriter. As well as the OS complements the small form factor of the Mini, it does fall short when I need to, say, type or do more complex productivity tasks, which has become a big part of my workflow these days. So this got me thinking, what if I could take this 12.9-inch iPad experience with a trackpad and keyboard and make it mini? Well, as it turns out, there's actually a case out there for the iPad Mini 6 that does feature a trackpad and a fairly standard, even surprisingly backlit RGB keyboard. What really sold me on this case though was its swivel hinge design, which on paper seemed ideal for someone like me that does a lot of productivity and creative work on the Mini. And while it does generally live up to what it's advertised as, it wasn't exactly the experience I was hoping for. That is to say, the Apple experience. One of Apple products' biggest selling points is the premium and clean user experience from the hardware to the software, and often for good or for bad. And that experience continues with many of the most popular third-party apps, as well as accessories like Logitech's Combo Touch hinge case. In many ways, it strives to match Apple's design philosophies, and that's probably why Logitech products can often be seen at Apple stores next to first-party products. Even if some might consider them to be less expensive alternatives to Apple's exorbitantly priced accessories, they do maintain an air of premium, Apple-esque quality. This case, on the other hand, really detracts from the iPad experience and is fiddly or clumsy at the best of times. And you could immediately see this with the hinge, whereas Apple is well known for their one-finger hinge on laptops, and many of their accessories also offer a similarly elegant experience from the moment you start using them. But with this case, opening the hinge from fully closed can be surprisingly difficult. It requires a lot more force than you would expect, even after a month of constant use, and if you accidentally grab the lid where the Mini rests, you can get some flex and the iPad starts to detach slightly. Luckily, it does seem like there are some magnets on this case that help keep the Mini 6 in place when you're actually using it, but it has been a concern of mine and a little quirk of this case ever since I started using it. It's not really a deal breaker, but I would have really appreciated an effortless way to open this up and even swivel it around to start taking notes or drawing quickly on the train. Instead, I'm afraid that my hand will slip as I try to open this, and I'll end up elbowing someone trying to do something that's effortless with, say, one of Apple's accessories like the smart cover. And even when you do get the case flipped around, there's a noticeable gap, and it does have some play. Not enough to seriously affect note-taking or sketching, but it is quite the annoyance. That being said, when you sit down with this at a table, the strong hinge does allow you to get a decent drawing angle while still having access to keyboard shortcuts, which is a great way to work effectively with the Mini. But I found that my ideal drawing angle of around 30 degrees does start to tip the case over if I'm not supporting the keyboard portion with my non-dominant hand. Again, this isn't exactly a deal breaker, and if you do set it to about a 45-degree angle, it does support its own weight, and it's a great angle for productivity and typing. The keyboard portion of the case is not a physical connection like you would see on the Logitech Combo Touch case or Apple's Magic Keyboard cases, but rather just a Bluetooth connection. This is to be expected though, as the Mini doesn't have contacts for these kinds of accessories, but once you get it paired, it's easy to turn on and off when you need it. I was also pretty happy to see a mostly standard keyboard layout in this form factor, with just enough shortcuts and the necessary functions I need for working, and it's also backlit, which is a huge plus at this size and price point. For my hand size, while it is a little bit cramped, I could type decently well, and was able to get used to the layout after just a few days. The key travel is decent for this kind of accessory, but a huge annoyance is the keycaps are pretty wobbly and not stable, which doesn't instill confidence when typing and leads to a very mushy experience. The spacebar, on the other hand, is very solid and stable and even has a clear actuation point and auditory feedback, which makes me wish that all of the keys use the same switch or design. Like the spacebar, the trackpad is also consistent with a clear actuation point no matter where you try to press on the trackpad, as well as auditory feedback. And these rubber feet on the bottom of the case keep it steady, and there's very little movement when you're typing on a table. Many iPad cases like Logitech's Combo Touch lack this kind of feature, and it's very easy to shift them around as you're working. I can't speak in depth about the battery life, but I'm sure it's decent as I haven't really needed to charge it much in my use. And thankfully, it charges off of USB-C, so you only need one cable to charge both the case and the Mini. While the case does add some bulk and weight, it's not very noticeable in my bag compared to, say, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro and a case, which can often rival or even exceed a 13-inch laptop in weight. One concerning aspect that I noticed while testing was how hot the back of the case could get. The Mini packs a lot of power in such a small device, and normally I'm not too concerned about the temperatures, but the back of this case is a pretty thick piece of plastic, as well as a non-slip material, which may trap the heat coming off the Mini. Even when using basic productivity apps after say 30 minutes or so, I was surprised at how warm the back of the case could get. So far in my use, I haven't experienced any significant issues from this, but for gaming or other very intense tasks, it might actually be a noticeable issue. When I picked up this accessory, I was really hoping it could help the Mini be the full package for both creativity and productivity while on the go. And in some ways, I have seen brief glimpses at the perfect package, but the overall experience is not the most satisfying. The whole point of a keyboard and trackpad case like this is to be more productive anywhere you might go. And while it is more compact and convenient than say a separate Bluetooth keyboard paired with the Mini, something like the GPD Win Max 2021 that I reviewed on the channel offers a much better typing experience, let alone its powerful hardware, and access to full windows for your desktop programs, all while on the go. It is a bit of an apples to oranges comparison, and while the GPD is a much better choice for say video editing, I find that iPadOS is snappier, more friendly, and more inviting than Windows for a majority of the tasks that I want to do on the go. So I really was hoping that this keyboard could be the accessory to make the Mini feel like a complete package to do anything on the go, but it falls just a little bit short, and at anywhere from $65 to $80 US, I wish it was either more expensive with better build quality, or was a bit cheaper so I could feel better about compromising with its flaws. That being said, if you're like me and really want to try to squeeze as much out of the Mini as you can, this is one of the only cases like this on the market. It is a little bit difficult to find as it seems several manufacturers make essentially the same product, and the naming isn't consistent between them, but if you search for iPad Mini 6 keyboard trackpad case, you should be able to find it, and I'll put a link in the description just in case. But even using this kind of compromised case showed me how much potential the Mini has with something like this, and I really hope that Apple makes a more elegant version of this case for the next iPad Mini, because as long as iPadOS is mobile first, you really need a strong mobile solution for the hardware. And there are just so many competitive and great options in the 13 and 14-inch mobile device market that a lot of times this just doesn't cut it. So if Apple remains adamant in keeping iPadOS a very mobile-oriented operating system, I think if they focused on the Mini, they could really corner the market on the small yet powerful and versatile mobile device. Anyways, I hope you liked this video and found it interesting or informative. I'm Skippen, and thank you so much for watching.